Everyone. In today's video, we're going to be doing a getting started with Zion Builder, so I can walk you through and teach you how to start using Zion Builder today. If you're someone who's never used it, then this will be a basic tutorial video that'll get you through. For those other people, you can just kind of skip it. All right, so let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to the Get It Started series. Today we're talking about Zion Builder. So if you're brand new to Zion Builder and maybe you've been confused a little bit about what Zion Builder is, I am going to take you through it. Zion Builder's been around for quite some time, but they tout themselves as one of the fastest and more flexible page builders that are out there. They use kind of a different mentality than some of the other page builders that are on the market. So that's why I wanted to take and go through it today with you. So with that said, I have a page that's already set up here. And I'm going to go through Zion Builder with you. Keep in mind, just like all of our Getting Started series, since this is the first one, we'll just be going over the basic details. And in the second one, we'll actually jump into a page with Zion Builder, and I'll show you, and I'll take and I'll disassemble it and start looking at it. So to start off, Zion Builder has a lot of the same features that you get with most page builders, and that is you've got the allowed post types and what you want Zion to control and what you don't want it to control. So that's pretty standard. It's got a maintenance mode, which is nice, also pretty standard at this point. It's got an appearance of light and dark builder, which is pretty cool. This is something we've seen gaining in strength lately. There's a lot of people who are out there who want a light and dark builder. They think that the light and dark builder is a better way of doing things just because it's easier to kind of match a person's preferences. As a matter of fact, some in light dark builders will actually match the system preference. You also have fonts here. So you've got Google fonts, custom fonts, and Adobe fonts. The beauty of this is that you can literally install fonts on your actual website. Like you can add them here, but I believe that you could do custom fonts too. You also have some custom icons here. So you can see we've got Font Awesome, Free Solid, Free Regular, and Brands. And then you've got some presets here. Now the presets are both local and global, and they're color presets, just things that you can kind of mess with. I wish that we had something with some more font presets where you could set headers and everything like that, but unfortunately Zion Builder does not have that. So if you're looking for something like that, it's just not there. We also have permissions here. So in permissions, you can specifically take and decide what you want people to do. You've got a template section here where you can basically add new templates. And you've also got a block section where you can add new blocks, which is kind of nice that they've got this set up here. Makes it just a one-stop shop if you're trying to do that. There's also some tools here, Regenerate CS and JS. That's very good for when you have something that's out of whack with your CSS. Replace URL. This is pretty standard too. I also should have mentioned Sync Library. Allows you to sync your library basically so you can make sure that it's synced and up to date. The Replace URL allows you to replace your URL. So for instance, if you were adding HTTPS, I think right now, most days, if you're not starting off with HTTPS, then you're probably in trouble. So I would start off with just HTTPS so that you never have to do this. But if you have to do it for a client or something else, then that's pretty good. Over here, you'll notice that this is system info. So if you're looking for system info about your system, that's there. And then right here is per license. Another thing that's pretty cool is over here you've got the theme builder. So the theme builder works a little bit differently than other builders that are assigned to it. So this is a default template that comes with it, and basically I believe the default template applies to all the pages, although you can't actually go in and edit this. But if I were to add a new template, like let's say that I duplicate this one, and as you can see, it's duplicated, so it's a copy, so it's actually even locked. You could go in here and you can actually set it as the default, but I believe you can edit which part of the site you wanted to show on. So for instance, if I wanted to have a different header and footer builder for the 404 page or some archive pages, or you could even go to visitors. You could even drill down to visitors and post and everything else. I mean, it's really, really detailed with the way that they go into this. So this has a lot of background content, and you've also got exclude, so you could do the exclude thing too. But basically, it allows you to customize multiple headers and things like that. For right now, we're going to just remove this and go ahead and save it. When you're setting these up, one thing that I will mention that's quite annoying, at least in the beginning when you're getting started for this, is that you're going to have to come here and set up your header and footer. So unlike some other builders where you can actually do it in the page, you have to come to the header and footer. It would be nice if there was a way that you could do this inside the pages, but for right now, you cannot. However, let's go inside the pages and take a look at what happens once you're inside. Now, once you're inside, Zion Builder works much of the same way that every other page builder works. There's the ability to take and add sections, and those sections have elements. You've got row and columns and so forth. And of course, everything is basically selectable based upon, little plus signs or things like that. So for instance, if you want to add rows, you've got this setup where you can add different types of rows. I really do enjoy these layouts that they have here where they have like 4 up and then they've got, 1 big. That's usually very, very different because in most cases, most page builders have about this. Some of them, let me go a little bit farther. Most of them will have about to here. They don't have things like this where you've got, 2 on each side and then 1 big one. It's neat that they have that. Like many other page builders, they have elements. So there's a long list of elements. Unfortunately, you can't size this window, which is a bit of a downfall. I wish that you could size it so that you could see all the elements like on the left-hand side or something like that. But they do give you a search icon, which is very nice. There's also a library here, and in this library there's templates, which I believe is just basic stuff, and then there's some, some templates that are in here. For the page that we're using, we actually use this template, and then we just kind of customize it. So if you see some writing that says like personal dietitian, that's because we didn't customize the actual font. We're just customizing the look and feel of it. So maybe on the second one, I'll go back and customize that offline. So in here, you'll find pro sections. So you'll find content, counters, devices. I'm not sure what devices. Oh, devices is actually computers. That's neat. That's different. Usually don't see that. That's kind of cool that they added that in there. There's some hero headers. There's headers and footers. And most of it lets you know if something is pro or if something is free. Partners and logos, latest post. Pricing tables, a good list of pricing tables, process and steps. I like this process and steps that they've got. Some sliders, just 1 slider, and some videos that you can kind of insert. And then there's some core UI, which is just basically some blocks that you can go in here and add. So it's pretty good. And then they've got this blue UI. I'm not sure what this is. I guess it's just something that's blue, but I'm not sure why this is set up like that. Their navigation seems a little all over the place, but they do have some search in here, which is nice, but I wish that this was a little bit more refined. The local library, you can go here, and this is where you would have all those blocks or templates that you would have, and you can import them. That's very nice also, that you can kind of import some blocks. So in here, we can see we've made like a coffee shop where we're basically just building a standard coffee shop. I can see one thing that's off with here. I'll go in and fix that later, but it's a standard coffee shop. The thought process is that's what it is. So I took the basics and I just turned it into a coffee shop, did the colors, played with some of the features, and just went in there and tried to make sure that it looked as close to a coffee shop as I would think a coffee shop would look, even though it's not perfect. And you can see that when you click on stuff, just like any other page builder, it's pretty much standard that you can go in here and you can edit stuff. So for instance, if you accidentally didn't want testimonial, you wanted to say testimonial, you can go in there and do it, and you don't have to edit it. Zion Builder does use pretty much a framework similar to what I would call like the Divi framework, where when you click on something, it's not the same as a couple of other builders. You will have to go through many menus to get to what you need. So generally you have a general, a styling, and advanced. And styling is really where it gets a little bit confusing for those people who are not familiar with CSS. If you're not familiar with CSS, the styling is where you're probably going to go to 90% of the time. Some of the times you're going to go in general because general is going to have some stuff, but mainly the styling is where you're going to go to actually style whatever it is you're looking for. So for instance, if we take a look at this button, and I'll tell you a secret right now, if you double click on something, you instantly go to that object. I'm not sure if that was ever mentioned, but that's helpful. So for instance, if I double click this picture, you'll see it takes me right to the column of where it's at, which is pretty useful. So inside here, you can go into the background section and you'll see if I'm looking for this cup of coffee, here's the cup of coffee. But once again, this is under styling tab, not the general tab. So most of what you're going to do is going to be under styling. But from styling, you'll see you have background, typography, borders and shadows, spacing, and display, transitions, transforms, filters, custom attributes, mostly everything that you could possibly think of. And then under advanced, you've got some animation, some custom CSS, some repeater options. When we get into more of the details of Zion Builder, when we get past this first initial thing, we'll start talking about repeaters. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Zion Builder's repeaters. You know, from a standpoint, it's a pretty easy builder to get a hang of, but that styling will throw you off from the beginning if you're not somebody who's familiar with CSS. Does that mean that you can't use it? No, it does not. It just means you have to have a different mentality going in. Once you start using it, it feels very, very natural. As a matter of fact, it feels so natural that you start wondering how other page builders even get away with it, because there's all of these things that are in here are CSS properties. So for instance, the transition property is straight out of CSS. And I know most people are going to say, well, that's pretty common, which is true, but you don't see a lot of this. I mean, they've literally got almost every CSS property I could think of, including blend modes, blurs, grayscales, hue, rotations, all of that. I mean, you could do it with like everything, which is really, really nice. They also have over here, when you go into a property, so for instance, let's say we were choosing the background or whatever, you can go over here and you can choose default, hover, before, after, active, focus, and custom. This is also very, very useful for when you're building out something and you want there to be after or before. A lot of times for most builders, all we see is hover. We don't see before, after, or even active. Active, even focus is sometimes missing. For your good builders that are out there, you will find those. But for the most part, Zion covers all the needs that you could think of. So if you're somebody who's just getting into it, we're going to take a look at this page. We're going to break it down. We're going to start going through it, and we're going to talk about what Zion Builder does really, really well, and just how they build their pages and how they do all of this. And we're going to talk about some neat tips and tricks. So I hope to see you guys next time.